The wind screamed across the molten cliffs of Taraxis 4, a planet so deadly most species didn't even bother mapping it. Superheated storms tore across the land, shredding exposed metal and melting bone. Nothing soft could survive here, except her. Carol stood at the edge of a sulphurous ridge, eyes narrowed against the glowing winds. Her obsidian armor hummed with adaptive shielding, barely keeping her internal temperature safe. Even among her people, the Rakai, the most feared deathworld species in the quadrant, she was an outlier. Hardened by her planet's worst trials, Carl had never met a creature that could match her strength or endure her world. Until today, her sensors pinged with an anomaly. Something was entering the dead zone, where even Rakai avoided venturing. She moved closer, claws gripping jagged stone. Through the haze and fire, she saw a figure walking steadily toward her. It wasn't Rakai. It wasn't alien. It was human. His armor was cracked and steaming, the kind of tech her kind dismissed as fragile. His breathing mask sputtered but held. He walked with no hesitation, even as the toxic wind licked at his limbs. Carol blinked once, then twice. This had to be a mistake. Humans were clever, chaotic, but they weren't built for this. And yet, here he was. When he finally reached her, the man stopped, hands resting casually on his belt. He didn't bow. He didn't cower. He just looked at her with calm eyes, the color of cold oceans. "Didn't expect company," he said, voice muffled behind his cracked helmet. Carl cocked her head. "You walked through fire to reach me." "I've walked through worse," he replied. "Impossible." "Maybe for you." The way he said it wasn't arrogance, it was fact. Carl took a step forward, her armor flexing as her body adjusted to the rising temperature. The storm behind her boiled brighter, and the ground cracked at her feet. "No soft-worlder survives Taraxis 4, she growled. "What are you?" The human's cracked visor retracted halfway, revealing scorched skin and a defiant smirk. "Names: Rylan Grant, Captain, Earth Expeditionary Forces. And I'm not here to survive. I'm here to win." Carol's jaw tightened. There were few beings in the galaxy who dared to meet her gaze, like that nun who had survived her wrath. Yet she didn't strike him down. Not yet. "You crossed this planet's most lethal region without backup or shelter," she said, circling him slowly. "Even Rakai warriors die there." Rylan nodded. "I noticed." "Why?" He glanced toward the horizon, where thunder cracked molten clouds apart. "Because something called to me. A signal, buried beneath your planet's crust. We picked it up back on Earth." Carol felt the weight of his words. She, too, had sensed the anomaly. A pulsing energy deep below the obsidian mountains. Something old, something dangerous. "You think you were meant to find it?" she asked. "I think we were," he answered. "You and me, together." Carol froze. No one tells her what they were meant for, she snapped. Rylan didn't flinch. Then maybe it's time someone did. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the crackle of molten wind. "Your kind doesn't last here," she said coldly. "Neither do yours," he shot back. "Not alone." A low growl rose in her throat. She could kill him now, prove he was just another overconfident outsider. But something in her paused. He wasn't trembling. He wasn't backing down. In that moment, Carl saw something rare and equal. Not in strength or speed, but in will. "I don't trust you." "Human," she said at last. "Good," he said with a half smile. "Trust gets people killed." Behind them, the ground trembled. A pulse echoed through the rock, sending a shockwave across the ridge. Both of them turned. The energy signature had just spiked. Whatever was beneath Taraxis 4 had awoken. Carl looked at the human again. "You want to see how deep this goes?" she asked. Rylan wiped soot from his faceplate and locked his visor. "Lead the way, Deathworlder." They descended the ridge together, their shadows swallowed by fire and storm. The galaxy had no idea what was coming, but it was about to learn what happened when two impossible survivors walked side by side, and neither of them was willing to lose. The descent into Taraxis 4's crust was more than a mission, it was a test of existence. The narrow fissure they followed sliced deep into the molten bedrock, venting heat that would have vaporized lesser beings. But neither Carl nor Rylan hesitated. Their boots struck glowing stone, and the tunnels pulsed with an unnatural light. Carl kept her blade drawn, its edge thrumming with energy from the surrounding heat. Behind her, she could hear Rylan's mechanical breath and the faint hum of his armor's cooling system, fighting a losing battle. "You know," Rylan said, his voice echoing off the walls, "Earth's worst day still wasn't this hot." Carl didn't look back. "And yet you haven't turned back." "Curiosity beats comfort," he replied. "Always has." She paused, her sharp eyes scanning the glowing veins in the rock. They pulsed with a strange rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. The deeper they went, the stronger the pulse became. Carl crouched, placing one clawed hand against the stone. "The planet's alive," she muttered. Rylan knelt beside her. "Or something inside it is." A sudden quake shook the tunnel. A ceiling shard cracked loose and fell toward Rylan. But Carl moved like lightning, shoving him aside as it shattered behind them. "Careful," she growled. "You're fragile." "Didn't feel very fragile just now," he muttered, brushing dust from his shoulder. "Thanks, though." Carl stood. "Don't get used to it." They pressed on. The tunnel widened, opening into a cavern lit by the glow of a massive structure embedded in the ground. It wasn't natural. Metallic ribs curved out of the rock like the skeleton of some forgotten machine. Symbols neither of them recognized pulsed across the surface in amber light. "This wasn't built by the Rakai," Carol said, her voice tight with awe. "Or humans," Rylan added. "This is older than either of us." At the center of the cavern stood a monolith, crystalline, black, and radiating power. As they approached, Carol's visor flickered. Rylan's gums buzzed with static. The air grew thin, not from lack of oxygen, but from the sheer pressure of presence. Like the structure knew it was being watched. Carl's hand hovered over her weapon. "Whatever this is, it's not dormant." "Maybe it's been waiting," Rylan said. "For what?" He looked at her. "Us. The ground beneath their feet trembled again, but this time it wasn't from tectonics. Something was responding to them. The crystalline monolith pulsed, and lines of energy snaked toward where they stood. When they touched Carol's boots, her armor lit up with the same amber symbols. Her breath caught. "It's reading you," Rylan said, his voice low. "Or recognizing you." "And you," she said, pointing to the glow spreading up his legs. "It's linking us." Suddenly, they were both pulled forward. Not physically, but mentally. Images flooded their minds, stars colliding, worlds erupting, civilizations falling. Then, in the center of it all, two figures, one violet, one pale, standing back to back, as darkness closed in. The vision faded. Rylan dropped to one knee, gasping. Carl clenched her fists, her claws digging into her palms. "That wasn't a warning," Rylan said once he could speak again. "It was a memory, a message," Carl agreed. "Whoever built this, they designed it for beings like us, survivors, deathworlders." The monolith suddenly split open, revealing a hovering core of light pulsing, calling. Carl stepped closer, her instincts screaming and calming her at the same time. It wasn't a weapon. It was a key. Rylan moved beside her. "Whatever this thing is, it's tied to us." Carol nodded. "And someone will try to take it." As if summoned by her words, a distant explosion echoed from above, then another. The tunnel they'd come from lit up with flashes of weapon, fire. Voices and harsh alien tones rang out through the stone. "Mercenaries," Rylan spat. "Someone followed me here." Carl's eyes burned. "Let them come." Side by side, They turned toward the tunnel. The monolith behind them pulsed brighter, reacting to their unity. For the first time in either of their lives, they weren't facing death alone. They were facing it together, and that changed everything. The first mercenary burst through the tunnel, weapon raised, armor slick with ash. He barely registered Carl's movement before she launched into him like a thunderbolt, claws ripping through reinforced plating. His body hit the wall with a sickening crunch and didn't move again. Behind him, more came 10, maybe 12, spilling into the cavern with shouts in a dozen different languages. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air. The monolith's core flared in response, casting long shadows across the molten floor. Rylan left, Carl shouted. He was already moving, rolling across broken stone and returning fire with short, focused bursts. His rifle wasn't elegant, but it did its job. 2 attackers went down fast, their weapons clattering to the ground. Another mercenary tried to flank Carol. She spun, grabbed his weapon arm, and shattered it with a twist. He screamed as she drove him backward into the ground with bone-breaking force. They fought as one. Rylan provided cover, drawing fire with precision, while Carol closed the distance and made it personal. Together, they created a storm of violence. No outsider could withstand, but the mercenaries weren't amateurs. They kept coming, disciplined, ruthless, and well-equipped. "Who sent these bastards?" Rylan yelled over the chaos. Carl snarled as she broke another attacker's neck. "Does it matter? They're here for the artifact." The remaining fighters formed a wedge formation, shielding a tall, insectoid figure in ornate silver armor. He stepped forward, calm amidst the fire, his multi-lensed eyes focusing on the core behind them. "That energy belongs to the Galactic Coalition," he declared. "Stand down, or be erased." "Funny," Rylan said, slamming a fresh clip into his weapon. "I don't remember them hiking through a lava field to get here." Carl's voice dropped to a growl. "You dare claim what is not yours?" The leader didn't flinch. "You two don't know what you're holding. That core is part of a containment grid designed to keep something much worse locked away." Rylan and Carol exchanged a glance. "Containment," Rylan echoed. Carol narrowed her eyes. Then, "Why do you come with weapons drawn?" The insectoid's mandibles clicked. "Because you've already triggered the awakening. I came to retrieve it before you doom us all." The core pulsed again, brighter than before, bathing the room in golden light. Carl took a step back. Her armor was vibrating, and the monolith responded to her presence like a living thing. "The energy, it's not chaotic," she said. "It's focused." Rylan's eyes locked on the mercenary leader. "If you came to contain it, why do your men shoot like they're here to kill?" The mercenary didn't answer. Carl tensed. "You're lying." The insectoid's calm facade cracked. "Kill them." The mercenaries surged forward. Rylan tossed a flash charge, lighting the cavern in a burst of white. Carl used the opening to leap forward, slamming into their line like a meteor. The ground shook with each blow. One merc managed to grab Rylan's arm, trying to twist the rifle from his grip. Rylan headbutted him, then drove a knife into his side with brutal precision. His breathing was ragged now, the heat pressing harder with every second. The core behind them pulsed again, then sent a ripple of force across the chamber. Everyone MERCS. Warriors, even Carl was thrown back. When the light cleared, the monolith had changed. It had cracked open like a flower, revealing a floating crystal shard at its heart. It hovered in place, emitting a low, musical hum. Carl stared at it. "That's what it wanted to show us. The real artifact." Rylan breathed. The insectoid leader crawled forward, bleeding but desperate. "You don't understand. If it bonds to you." The shard shot forward like lightning, and fused into Carol's chest. She staggered back, her body alight with golden lines. The hum became a steady thrum, vibrating through the stone beneath. Their feet, her eyes flared brighter than twin stars. "I can feel Everything, she whispered. The planet, the artifact. It's connected to us. Carl, Rylan said carefully, approaching her. Are you okay? She turned. To him, the storm in her eyes crackling. I am more than okay. The remaining mercenaries fled, the insectoid leader screaming for retreat as his forces crumbled. But Rylan didn't move, because Carol wasn't just surviving the artifact's power. She was becoming something far more dangerous and far more necessary. The winds outside howled with a fury that mirrored the storm inside Carol. The shard embedded in her chest pulsed with raw, ancient power. It didn't burn her, it empowered her. She could feel the heat of the planet flowing through her armor, like breath no longer a danger. But an extension of her body, Rylan stood, still, watching her, heart pounding. Her violet skin shimmered with golden veins now, like lightning trapped beneath flesh. The cavern had gone quiet. No more mercenaries. No more gunfire. Just the eerie hum of something greater awakening. What do you feel? He asked softly. Carl turned, her movements smoother than before, her steps vibrating the stone floor. Balance, she said. This planet, it's not just deadly, it's intelligent. The shard was meant to choose someone who understands struggle, suffering, survival, and it chose you. She paused, eyes glowing in the dim light. It chose us. The crystal's light reached out from her, not to burn or harm, but to guide. It extended toward Rylan's chest, brushing the plates of his cracked armor. His HUD blinked, flooded with strange symbols. For a second, he felt heat followed by a cold clarity that cut through his exhaustion. His systems realigned. His pain faded. His mind sharpened. I felt it, he breathed. Carl nodded. It's linking us. We are its anchors. The walls of the cavern began to shift. Crystalline vines spread outward from the monolith-like roots, searching for new soil. The floor beneath them rippled, transforming from molten rock to solid crystal paths. The air grew thicker, electric. Carl, Rylan said, stepping forward. This isn't just a weapon or a relic. No, she agreed. It's a seed. The shard hadn't been designed to destroy. It was meant to create, to terraform, but only for those strong enough to endure its challenge. Footsteps echoed in the corridor behind them. Both turned, weapons drawn only to lower them when a battered, soot-covered alien stumbled into view. Not a mercenary, not a soldier, a researcher. He dropped to his knees the moment he saw them, breathing hard. You must stop it, he gasped. If the core stabilizes, it will spread. Carl stepped forward. Spread where? To the rest of the planet. Maybe beyond. Your bond is waking up every shard buried beneath the crust. You're triggering the planetary Rylan tilted his head. Failsafe. The researcher nodded frantically. Taraxis 4 isn't natural. It was designed by the architect's same ancient beings in your Earth myths. They scattered these shards across Deathworlds to protect against something. Carl narrowed her eyes. Protect against what? The researcher swallowed. The void. The word hit like a THUNDERCLAP. He continued. There's something coming. Something that consumes galaxies. The architects saw it. They seeded these Deathworlds to breed warrior survivors. You're not just bonded to a shard. You're part of their plan. Rylan exhaled. So this planet was never just trying to kill us. It was forging us. Carl looked down at her hands, still hers, but more, stronger, sharper. She could feel the gravity shifting outside, the skies darkening, the world responding to her heartbeat. I was born thinking I was alone, she whispered, that no one else could survive like me. You were wrong, Rylan said, stepping beside her. Just like I was. The researcher pointed to the walls. It's not done. Other shards are activating. Across the system. If you can reach them, if you can connect with them, you might be able to wake the others. Carl nodded slowly. More like us. Other Deathworlders, Rylan murmured. Other warriors. Outside, the sky cracked open. A ship descended through the clouds. Carl's personal dropship, summoned by the shard. It hovered with silent power, its hull now reinforced by the same crystalline growths forming around the cavern. We're not just survivors anymore, she said. We're the beginning of something, Rylan agreed. Something the void isn't ready for. Together, they climbed aboard. As the ship lifted off, Taraxis 4 pulsed with power. The once deadly planet had changed, no longer a test of survival, but a beacon. Across the stars, others would feel it. Others would come, and the universe would learn. When Deathworlders unite, they don't run, they rise. The dropship soared through Taraxis 4's upper atmosphere, crystalline wings glinting like blades against the blood-red clouds. Below, the planet stirred. Fault lines pulsed with molten energy, and jagged peaks rose higher than before, reshaping the world in response to the shard now fused into Carl's body. Rylan sat beside her in the command seat, watching the readings spike on every panel. Planetary cores stabilizing, he said. But that energy, signature Carol, it's not stopping. It's spreading. She didn't look away from the viewport. It's calling. To who? To others like us. In the silence that followed, the ship's long-range sensors pinged. A series of lights flared on the star map. 1, 2, then 5. Then dozens. Rylan's eyes widened. That's Earth and other Deathworlds. The signal, Carol. It's waking them up. A voice crackled through the static, a language neither of them recognized, yet understood instinctively. It wasn't words. It was emotion. Resolve. Rage. Unity. Carl's grip on the controls tightened. The architects didn't just build weapons. They built us. The dropship broke through the last cloud layer. In orbit, a fleet loomed, not enemy warships but ancient, slumbering vessels wrapped in time-forgotten technology. Their designs defied, logic spiraled, multifaceted, organic, and they were waking up. Architect Craft, Rylan said, breathless. They've been dormant, waiting. The shard in Carol's chest pulsed in time with the ship's dot. From one of the vessels, a transmission flared. A symbol projected in mid-air between them, two beings. One Rakai, one human, standing back-to-back beneath a blazing sun. Below, the image coordinates rippled to life. Dozens of them across the known galaxy. More cores, Carl whispered. More Deathworlds. Rylan stared at the data. If we reach them first, we can find the others, unite them. And if we don't, she asked. He met her eyes. Then the void gets there first. Silence. Then Carl stood, armor shimmering with shard energy. She turned to him with a sharp smile that sent a thrill through Rylan's veins. Then we'd better hurry. Suddenly, the ship lurched. Alarms blared. A tear opened in space near the edge of the system, jagged and pulsing with unnatural darkness. The stars around it flickered out like dying candles. Carla's eyes narrowed. The void. Rylan sprang too. The weapons console. Looks like we won't need to find them. They're coming to us. From the rupture spilled creatures unlike anything in their universe, black. Shifting things that bent light and twisted matter. Even in the safety of the ship, Rylan felt his mind reel. Dimensional intruders incoming, he shouted. Fast. Carl didn't hesitate. Engage. Now, the dropship veered into action, crystalline weapons locking into place. The air around the vessels shimmered with heat and power. From orbit, the awakened architect ships joined formation, responding to Carol's presence as if she'd been bred to lead them. As the void forces surged forward, they met a storm forged by worlds too hostile for ordinary life. Carl dove the ship into the heart of the enemy swarm. Rylan unleashed everything they had. Plasma, crystal-laced projectiles, energy bursts, synchronized with shard frequencies. The dark thing screeched, but not in triumph. in pain. The architect's creations fought back. More signals lit up from other worlds, Earth's poles, Puruns, volcanic belt, tempestuses, lightning rings. Deathworlders who had once believed themselves alone were awakening, connected through the shard network, and they weren't afraid. As Carl's ship cut through the chaos, she reached out a hand. Rylan grasped it tightly, their bond pulsing with raw power. "This is just the beginning," she said. "For them," Rylan added, nodding toward the enemy. "But for us, it's the rise." The camera feed from their vessel, already transmitting across human and Rakai networks, captured the moment their ship and the architect fleet punched through the void line. To warriors once strangers, once enemies, now the symbol of a new age. Across galaxies, civilizations paused, watched, and for the first time, they saw hope born not from peace, but from strength earned on fire-scarred worlds. 2. Deathworlders. 1. Fate, and a universe finally ready to be changed.